Hello, welcome to the channel. Russia has recently faced major protests. The people, especially young people, took to the streets against Putin administration. The incident that triggered the protests was the opposition Alexey Navalny. After being poisoned in 2020, Berlin went back to Russia and was arrested. Navalny supporters also took to the streets with the effect of corruption, injustice and economic troubles. So how Putin came to power? Before the Soviet Union was formed, Russia was an agrarian country. Most of the people were working as agricultural workers. They were in the hands of the vast people in the fields where the people worked. The working population was forced to work for fullness. Some of them migrated to the city to find a job. This situation became difficult for the people to bear. There were riots. Under the leadership of Vladimir Lenin, the Soviet Union was established. The Soviet Union was founded with demands such as justice and equality. But the Soviets grew worse as time went on. Problems grew worse in the 1980s. Even though the revolution was against the elite ruling the country, the ruling section in the Soviet Union turned into an elite. The arms race with America brought great economic difficulties. His war with Afghanistan caused economic difficulties, and the Soviets that suffered a great blow in Afghanistan faced serious problems. At the same time, the space race cost the Soviets dearly. Space spending was the end of the Soviets. In 1991, the Soviets dissolved. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the people thought things would get better, but things got worse. The country was shaken by the great financial crisis in 1998, as it could not pay its debt. Living standards in Russia fell to the lowest level. Most of the population was in poverty. Factories and workplaces were closed due to economic problems. Unemployment increased. State companies were sold due to economic problems. The educated people left the country for a better life. The wealthy seized the resources. They smuggled the country's wealth abroad. Mafia gangs and organized crime rose due to the weakness of the state authority. Everyday murders and conflicts became commonplace. At the same time, the Chechen problem and the war hit Russia one more. Boris Yeltsin, who took over the country after the collapse of the Soviets, could not rule the country. He was making strange statements. Yeltsin was constantly drunk and was making strange movements. He was not always on duty because he had health problems. In 1999, Yeltsin's name was involved in a corruption scandal. Yeltsin was not strong enough to handle these allegations. He made Vladimir Putin prime minister to counter all these. He finally resigned on live broadcast. Putin was replaced by Vladimir Putin as required by the constitution. Putin was a KGB agent known for his hard-line rhetoric in domestic and foreign policy. He was working in East Germany. In 2000, he changed his words and brought back the Soviet anthem. He gave importance to internal security policies. He brought the end of the oligarchs and mafias. The street conflicts ended. The sources managed by the oligarchs were connected to the state. Putin took over the economy, lowered taxes. Chechens who left informally after the collapse of the Soviet Union were a big problem. During Yeltsin's period, Russia and Chechnya fought, but Russia was defeated. Chechnya had oil resources. Putin did not want this country to break away from Russia. Chechnya fighters caused explosions in many cities, including Moscow. 300 people died in these explosions. Russia takes control of Chechnya. After Putin came to power, he took the media under his control. The media has always become Putin's propaganda machine. He was constantly talking about how strong Putin was, a smart leader. Putin got stronger due to reasons such as the Chechen War and the recovery of the economy. He made pro-Western statements in the early days of his arrival in Iktara. But as he strengthened his power, he emerged as a power against the West. Putin strengthened Russia that had collapsed in the first decade. But problems began to arise in the second decade. There are many problems, one of which was the falling oil prices after 2014. The slowdown in China's economy has reduced its oil purchases. At the same time, the European economy has stalled and the demand for oil has also decreased. The United States and Canada were the countries that bought the most oil. For these reasons, oil prices fell. Although Russia strengthened its economy, it could not diversify its economy. They were dependent on too much oil. They suffered greatly from falling oil prices. Another problem is Russia's annexation of Crimea. One of Putin's greatest wishes was to maintain its domination in the former Soviet countries. He suppressed pro-Western movements in many countries by interfering with the internal affairs of the countries. Transnistria is the Donbass War and the annexation of the Crimea. Ukraine's progress towards full independence was a problem for Russia. Russia could not lose Crimea even if Russia lost Ukraine. Crimea was Russia's gateway to the Mediterranean. For these reasons, it was in need of Crimea. It invaded Crimea before the eyes of the whole world. Western countries reacted with economic sanctions when Russia illegally annexed Crimea and began to intervene in eastern Ukraine. The sanctions took effect in June 2014 in coordination by the European Union, the United States of America, Canada, and other allies and partners. These sanctions were further tightened in September 2014. The EU's sanctions, which were planned to expire in July 2015, have been extended until January 2016. Another reason is autocracy. The private sector and entrepreneurship are not suitable for autocracies. Nobody wants your company to depend on one person. Therefore, it could not diversify the Russian economy. One of the important examples for this is Pavel Durov. Pavel Durov is an entrepreneur born in Russia in 1984. He is the founder of the social media application VK and the messaging application Telegram. But he is in trouble with Putin. In 2011, protests were organized against Putin via the social media application VK. However, Russian officials called Durov and asked him to delete the opponents. Durov was removed from his company a few years later and the Putin supporters took control. Durov fled Russia, selling the remaining shares. Problems like these have started to create problems with Putin's government. Every movement has been questioned. Allegations of corruption that his name is implicated have been put forward. Even if the old generation who saw Russia before Putin likes Putin, the new generation wants Putin to go. But the opposition was not strong. In Russia, the opposition was made up of disparate groups, one of which was the Russian oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who wanted to rival Putin by being thrown into politics. Signed an amnesty, he got out of prison and escaped from Russia. But in the opposition, one of the most influential emerged, Alexey Navalny. Navalny managed to unite even those who did not agree with him. He attracted young people and formed a significant opposition to Putin. So who is Navalny? Actually, a lawyer. He is known for what he wrote on his blog in 2008. He was detained on the grounds of a rally in Moscow. He was arrested again after 15 days in prison. He was later released by the Supreme Court. In 2013 he ran for mayor of Moscow and he was the second candidate. When it was banned from showing on television, it continued its entire activity on social media. It gained a great reputation in social media. In 2017, it was exposed to a chemical attack, 80% vision loss in her right eye. Navalny got sick in 2020 on her way from Siberia to Moscow. Sent to Berlin for treatment Novich, often used by Russian agents, it turned out that he was poisoned with the poison called OK. The Navalny team said that this was done by the Russian Secret Service on Putin's order. Later, in December, Putin made a statement. In his statement, the Russian state would kill him if he wanted. Despite the possibility of his poisoning and arrest, Navalny was not afraid. In a post he posted on Instagram, he said that he missed Russia very much. He returned to Russia in 2021 and was detained. He posted a secret video taken in custody. They were inviting the Russian people to the street with the slogan, "Save your future," in the media, especially in TikTok. In more than 100 cities, people took to the streets. 3512 people were arrested. The Navalny team announced that the demonstrations were terminated and will continue again a week later. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov said that the demonstrations were held by few people, but more people attended the demonstrations for a week. He said the agent for Navalny. Afterwards, Navalny appeared before the judge. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. 4 days after the court, a shocking news came out. The doctor who gave the Navalny first intervention was dead. Although there is strong opposition to Putin, Navalny is actually a Russian nationalist. They have anti-immigrant rhetoric. He supported Russia in the 2008 Russian-Georgian War and said that the Georgians in Russia should be expelled. According to some, Navalny is the person Putin is most afraid of. What do you think? Can Navalny depose Putin?